everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to my behind-the-scenes, DM-only live stream Crafting Annihilation, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Tomb of Annihilation. If you are playing characters of Mannix, Celeste, Gillian, George, or Theron, this is not meant for you. There's too many spoilers. Go away. But for the rest of you, welcome. We stream our Tomb of Annihilation sessions live on YouTube every Friday evening. Catch up on previous YouTube episodes on my YouTube page, god damn it, as well as read weekly session recaps at roguewatson.com. If you'd like to support the channel, go to patreon.com/roguewatson. It's not on brand unless I flub my own intro that I've been reading literally forever. Personal shoutouts to Platinum patrons Andrew, Brian, Richard, and Joe, and Gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy Numa, Marcos, David Vicente, Gilberto, Sean, aka Cert2B, Adam, Dead Lizard Lounge, and Aukshi. Thank you all very much for your support. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net, and for streaming, I use Open Broadcaster software with Streamlabs. I hope everyone is having a fantastic week. It is spring break here in the U.S. and here in Texas. I'm not sure if I think different regions have different spring break times. Unfortunately, I've been dealing with a sick kid all week, so I have been falling way behind on getting pretty much anything done this week, including prepping for D&D. But, and I need to mention this at the start here, and I'll mention it again at the end, we had to reschedule D&D this week. Some of our players won't be available, and our general rule is if one person's not available, the show pretty much goes on, but if we have more than that, then it's a discussion to be made. And there was a discussion to be made, and we rescheduled to tonight, so we're bumping up D&D to tonight, not Friday night. So if you noticed on the YouTube page, it says going live tonight. That is not an error. We are, in fact, going live tonight. Now, because it's going to be a weekday night, it will be a shorter, truncated session, which kind of fits pretty well right now because we're basically stopped in the middle of, sort of in the middle of a combat encounter with the wreck of the Star Goddess, to where we're basically just going to finish up this scenario, which we didn't even make it to the actual higher portions of this map. So I think that'll work out where we'll basically just kind of we'll get through this battle and then kind of complete this area tomorrow, and maybe it'll end up being probably no shorter than like a half session, but it's always hard to tell with the way combat flows, and that's one of the most difficult things to anticipate with D&D is just how long or short, typically how long a session is going to be. So I'm thinking we'll probably just make it through this, and then that'll be the session for this week, so nothing on Friday. And in fact, nothing pretty much from me on Friday at all, because since we're not doing it on Friday, my wife ended up taking the day off. We're going to spend a family day, probably go to the zoo or do something, so we're just I'm just taking that day off from basically doing my normal online spiel, which is normally another video review and an XCOM Let's Play. I should try and play XCOM maybe this weekend, just so I can keep up with it, but there won't be anything on Friday tomorrow, so making sure everybody's aware of that. I'll post things again, and I'll mention that again at the end of this Crafting Annihilation. But most importantly, with this session, I have an interesting opportunity to kind of get ahead of the players. Normally, I pretty much use Crafting Annihilation to just literally prep for the next session that we're going to have. So I just prep whatever the area the players are in. However, this is pretty much already set up. I prepped for the entire area, including some dialogue with rescuing the people and kind of how this is going to take place, which is essentially a rescue mission as these guerrilla zombies approach the players. They just now, most of them at least, everybody except Mannix, which Raymond unfortunately won't be able to make this session this week either. It's South by Southwest. They live in Austin, so he's not going to be here. So I'm thinking I may actually just let Chris run George, since Mannix is not up in this tree, at least until things, maybe the action goes back to the ground or something. I'm not sure how the flow will go, but the point of this encounter will be that the zombies are coming in and they will just start wrecking people, including picking people up and just hurling them off the ship, because I believe this rightmost one is 75 feet in the air, so that's a 76 they can do if they throw you off. So maybe I would allow some kind of dex saving throw to grab onto a branch and not take as much damage. But I think that would be an interesting scenario as the players kind of... I want that feeling that this danger is coming. The players can fight it, but also they need to worry about trying to rescue people who are going to be dying, and there's a lot of red shirts here. I really want the captain to survive, but if the players just don't do things very well in general, like they don't come up and meet this threat or however else goes on. One thing that's interesting is maybe when this bear appears, I might, a Theron bear, I may have to like initiate combat and immediately have these guards like attack the bear unless somebody kind of yells at them to not do that because they really don't know. And I don't know if, this bear just climbed a tree and is roaring, and they might have to turn on the players and actually fight them. So I think that could be an interesting scenario. I wouldn't want to overdo that too much because obviously I don't want the players to actually fight these people, but that could be a cause for some kind of hilarity. Hopefully Gillian will be able to talk them down. You can see I kind of put them in random places on the map. George, I just had climbed this right tree. I was just trying to control him. Gillian used the grappling hook, and I believe she was on the middle. Kales, God. Gillian is leaping from branch to branch with her ring of jumping. So I just kind of put her down here. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. And I believe there's no light up. Well, for some reason my gorilla and zombies make light. There's no light source up here, and I think it is evening time. So I think it must set this up just to make it easier for DMs, but I don't like how the tokens automatically emit light for me. I'd rather see it from the player's perspective. Hello, Mr. Blood Drunk Reaper. It is nice to have you in a live session, for sure. I love doing crafting annihilation. There we go. Okay, that's more what the players are going to see. So, is dark as hell right now. I believe Theron and Kales have dark vision. You can see that's kind of what it looks like, I think. I don't think that's what... I don't know if they changed the setting for Roll20, because this shouldn't be... They're not emitting light, right? Oh, they are emitting light. But all players don't see light. Okay. So for some reason, even if I'm clicking it from Gillian's point of view, it's still showing them as emitting their dark vision light. This is what they can see on their dark vision. I don't think Gillian will be able to see crap, and I don't think George will be able to see crap. So as they're going up there, I'll probably just tell the players, because I realize this kind of can be a pain in the ass occasionally, that they can certainly light up, cast light on their way up or something. I don't remember if Gillian actually cast light at some point. I remember there was a funny thing about Mannix disappearing behind a bush and having the lantern, and then they lost their light source. That hasn't come into play very often. We don't usually have a whole lot of evening encounters, other than maybe that Camp Vengeance battle. I know that was a thing whenever I think it was Kales dropped her lights or something, and then all of a sudden they couldn't see the undead approaching, and that was kind of an interesting dynamic. But otherwise, there hasn't been a whole lot of night encounters. I just thought that would make this one more interesting, and always makes the undead more threatening, is when player visibility is reduced quite a bit. It can be a source of frustration for players occasionally, I realize, especially because some of them have dark vision, others do not. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. Just cast a light spell or do something. I think Gillian did cast light, but I'm not quite sure. I'll have to remember how that works for tonight's session. Watching this series on YouTube for a short while. I'm still quite far behind. I thought of it anyway. Nice. Hopefully I won't spoil too much of what's happening. I do appreciate when people can try to catch up and then catch us live. That's always a really fun thing. I love having the live show and having people catch us, be able to be there for the comments and everything. That's always really fun. But I'm also equally impressed when people do go back and catch up on our earlier stuff, especially our earlier campaigns. We frequently had a lot of audio-visual problems and technical difficulties. Thank you, I appreciate that. So this is kind of going to be a unique crafting annihilation session because I don't really need to prep too much about what we're doing tonight. I really think it's going to be basically just this map, which we didn't even get to this actual map last time. We actually just fought on the ground level map, which is something I just threw together because there were a bunch of ghouls milling about the bottom, but that map, as it is, didn't have a good way of doing like a ground level map, and that's a huge limitation of Roll20 is you really can't do like elevation because it's just a top-down grid map, and there's no real good way to turn that into a three-dimensional battle map thing. So I just ended up making two maps. I just put this one, you can see literally the red X's is kind of to dictate to the players, which I don't know if they can actually see. Okay, they could. Yeah, this is what they could see. Where the actual ship pieces were, so they could kind of plan ahead. And I was hoping on creating a dynamic where players on the bottom could be fighting the ghouls, and at the same time the top players could be fighting, but I realized that the ghoul fight's really not that complicated for the players. They're going to be able to mop this up. Plus, they have like 7 NPCs right now. They are incredibly overpowered with this giant party, and I really need to start shaving that shit off because I do not like having this many NPCs with the party. It's way too many of me just rolling too much initiative and everything else. As a DM, it's fun to occasionally introduce like the NPC to a party and be able to like essentially be a party member and all that. I get that appeal a lot. But 7 NPCs is way too fucking much. It's gotten to be ridiculous with how much extra work it is for me to keep up with all this. I mean, even just trying to roll all those extra rolls and initiatives and like ask the players what they want them to do. I mean, it just slows down the action from the players. So I really need to start shaving this off, and I'm hoping we can start completing these quests or getting rid of them in some ways, which next time they go back to Port Nyanzaru, which hopefully will be through the Heart of Ubtao, I'm thinking that Tabaxi will just peace out. Maybe they can just retire, especially because they've already got Azaka. They don't really need all these guides, and I feel, they'd probably keep Azaka with them, so we could get rid of them. Once they go to Heart of Ubtao, they also basically complete Annette's storyline, so she could be gone there. Alama and the rescue crew here, that'll be interesting to see how the players want to deal with it. I'm basically going to leave it up to them, but assuming at least some of these NPCs survive from this shipwreck, now the players suddenly have essentially these extremely wounded, near-death people, and they're in the middle of the jungle. They're not, do they just send them off on their way? Do they trek all the way back to Camp Vengeance, which is their nearest safe zone? Do they take them back to that friendly lizard ranch that they met and just drop them off there and let them rest? Do they tell the Tabaxi or Azaka to be like, hey, go ahead and split from the party and just take them back? I don't know. I would be kind of up for however the party decide about that, but the fact is they've got these people that are not adventurers. They just really want to get the fuck out of here, and I mean, it's good that the players rescued them, for sure, but they're basically going to be a burden on the party. Like, they really shouldn't travel with this group to, like, a dungeon, for example. So I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see how the players deal with this dilemma. I am in no way adding all these NPCs as fighters, for sure. They've got Alama. I mean, they rescued her. They gave her a sword and all that. She's a fighter. That's fine. But maybe Alama could just say, like, hey, I can take them all to... maybe the players just give them directions to Camp Vengeance. And be like, hey, can you just... here's the next way, or here's a path you can go, is that okay? And she would probably be like, well, thank you for your help, we don't expect you to, like, send us anywhere, but, we'll take it from here. I'd probably be okay with that, so it'll be interesting the way the players deal with it. I'm kind of open to whatever they want to do. The only thing I'm not open to do is just literally have them recruit all those really generic NPCs, although I guess they all had names, into the party. Yeah, in addition to what they all have here, and I even gave them a giant frog as another like potential thing they can add to the party. Literally like a Pokeball, like the figurine they throw it and it turns into a creature. And we'll deal with all that. I assume that'll all be tonight's session, so we'll deal with the actual battle, and then the aftermath, the rescue attempt, and then how they want to deal with all these NPCs, and then most importantly, figure out where the players are going next. Because this is an interesting question, and Chris actually told me about this last time. He's like, hey, if your goal was to divert us away from Heart of Ubtao, it worked, because we were going there, and then we got stopped in... trying to draw these X's. This damn map. It's a neat idea, but it's a shame it takes so long to load. They were going to the Heart of Ubtao, and I just plopped Dungrungalong right in the middle of the swamp, so they hit there, and then I introduced Alama and got them over directly to the Star Goddess, so I essentially diverted them away from Heart of Ubtao. Now, that was not necessarily not necessarily a necessity. That was a stupid way of saying that. They could have gone to Heart of Ubtao. Like, it's not like a high-level dungeon or anything. It's literally it's basically just a role-playing scenario. They meet a friendly lich, and if you've watched Prince of the Apocalypse, you know I love my friendly liches. And it's just a source of information for the players. They basically learn about Omu. They learn about a little bit more about the Red Wizards, and most importantly, the Heart of Ubtao has a portal which they can take back to Port Nyanzaru. That's a big, big reward for the players, as suddenly they can bounce back between the city and this place. And I use that because I think it's written in the book that Valindra has a portal she can run through, essentially escape, and portal back to wherever the hell she's from, Fae. But the players, they learned about portals in the jungle from Wakanga, and they will be able to... they learned basically how, if they came across a portal, they'd be able to, whatever, Bluetooth it, whatever version of that is for this world, to go to Port Nyanzaru. So they'd be able to turn in a bunch of NPCs. They could obviously get a long rest. buy supplies. I would probably maybe have some magic items for sale, like just all that stuff. And more importantly, once they're done with this jungle area, which is doing Orolunga and Nangalore, they don't have to travel all the way back up to get to Port Nyanzaru. They can just go to the heart of Ubtao and teleport back to Port Nyanzaru. So my thought process, because again I am the DM, I have all the information, is they need to do Wreck of the Star Goddess and Orolunga first and then go to Heart of Ubtao, because that's the teleport back, so they can really just complete this entire left side of the map. Now the players don't know that. They don't know that the portals in Heart of Ubtao or anything else, so I am trying to kind of divert them and tease the fact, and I'm hoping, and I'm not going to push this, but I'm hoping they go to Orolunga next, because it just makes so much more sense narratively for them to go there and then trek all the way back across, and I would definitely cut down the number of encounters to Heart of Ubtao, and then really they're just done. And they could even teleport back to Heart of to Port Nyanzaru, take the river down to go to Firefinger, and complete Azaka's quest. And then at that point, they can either travel across down to Needle's Bones, or they could go back up to Port Nyanzaru, teleport back to Heart of Ubtao, and travel over to Nangalore because they know that location. So I'm essentially opening up a fast travel option, and I'm using... When I first started the campaign, I wasn't sure if I was going to include these kind of everywhere and just make it a real like easy bounce back thing. But now I'm thinking I might just have it in Heart of Ubtao, because it's such a central location. But it would suck if they end up going to Heart of Ubtao next, teleporting back to Port Nyanzaru, doing all this other stuff on the right side of the map, and just skipping Orolunga for so long when they're right frickin' there. They're so close right now. They're literally within 5 hexes. So I don't know if I really want to push this, but because it doesn't really... I just hope they go to Orolunga next. So I'm going to start prepping Orolunga, is basically what all that rant was for. The Abyss is even worse. I actually really liked that part of Out of the Abyss. My takeaway from that is that it gives you all those options, but you as a DM can just choose which ones you like and don't like. So it'd be the question of like, well, I like these 4, so I'm going to include these 4 in the campaign, and then whichever 1 or 2 or none of these that the PCs like can be recruited in the party. But that's something I actually really liked from Out of the Abyss, just because it gives you a lot of fun options to be able to travel with the party. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't. I would not include all of them, and I certainly would not encourage the players using all of them either. It'd be almost like a video game equivalent of, like the choosing your starter Pokemon, like at the beginning, that you give them those options, and then it's like, oh, you choose one, you can't choose the others. It wouldn't be that obvious, but that's kind of how I would do that story if I was doing Out of the Abyss. Fun fact, Out of the Abyss, I believe, is the only officially D&D campaign that has not yet been adapted to Roll20, which is kind of interesting. What time will you be streaming tonight? Same time, same bat channel, 9 p.m. Central Time, my time, which we just hit daylight saving, so I believe I'm now -5 GMT. I was -6 GMT. So same time as usual. I mean, we always run a little bit late because literally people are showing up like 5 minutes before. We're very busy people. Poor Chris, he's in Pacific time, so he's usually like just getting off work and trying to rush home to come online. But yeah, it'll be the same time tonight. It'll just be a shorter session because it's a weeknight for all of us, so we won't go the full, whatever it is, 2.5 to 3 hours. So I am going to start working on Orolunga, which I've mentioned this weeks before, but I am completely changing Orolunga. I do not at all like how it is written in the book. It is a very weird, basically a series of odd puzzles and skill checks the players have to do, and then they just meet with this oracle. There's no maps, there's no combat or anything of that nature, including one of them involves like swallowing a snake, which my wife is deathly afraid of snakes, so I'm not down with any of that. I am changing it to be a 2 a.m. for me. Oh, man. That's rough. That is rough. I know we have a lot of people that are outside the U.S. I mean, European time and all that is... Yeah, it's pretty rough, but I appreciate everybody that tries to tune in. I think we lose a lot of people during the break because of that reason. Like, a lot of people, we get a lot at the beginning, and then break time we come back, and I think we've lost all the folks that are wee hours of the morning. But I appreciate you immensely for joining in. That's a rough time. Let's look at Orolunga. We ever do a Shadowrun game again? Oh, man. I love Shadowrun. I love Shadowrun to death. I probably not. I just didn't like the rules. I don't like the rule set. That whole like everything is a modifier and it's rolling a bunch of d6s and you're making successes. None of that. I didn't like any of that, and I didn't like any of the like hacking rule, the decking rules. Any of that stuff was confusing. The reloading, it just going from that to 5th edition D&D was just a breath of fresh air. Like that's just how my group rolls. Like it's every time we come up with rules for something, we end up just streamlining it. And 5e is just one big like tabletop RPG streamlining process, and it's been super successful. So I think it's brought a lot of people into the fold. I would be open to doing a non-fantasy tabletop RPG. I've got like my eye open for when Roll20 starts doing Starfinder. I think they mentioned they're going to start doing Starfinder stuff. I have played Pathfinder before, and it would not be difficult to translate this group from 5e to a Pathfinder Starfinder setting. It's very, very similar, still a D20 system. So I would be interested, and in fact, I just shameless plug for my own video. I reviewed a from a drive-through RPG, someone who converted D&D 5e into a cyberpunk setting, which actually converted very, very nicely and neatly. It worked very well, and it was a really fun adventure that they had come up with. So I would be very down to playing like a sci-fi RPG, but it would either be Starfinder. At this point, it would either be Starfinder or it would just be a sci-fi 5e rule set, honestly. And I'm not sure if it would be a full, like, year-long plus campaign either. It might be something just shorter than that, but that is something to think about. I also haven't given my thoughts on the Salt Marsh thing yet, and I'll probably save that for another time. But that's an interesting thing that their next big project they announced, D&D announced, is basically another Tales of the Yawning Portal style compilation. Anyway, here is the beginnings of Orolunga. So I am turning Orolunga into a dungeon crawl because Tomb of Annihilation is very oddly structured in that I guess you could consider our campaign, if you really boiled it down to a 3-act structure. Act 1 is basically Portnai and Zaru. Act 2 is the entire jungle, which is a lot. Act 3 is Omu, Fane of the Night Serpent, and the titular Tomb of Annihilation. And all of those are basically considered dungeons. Whereas the jungle, there's not a whole lot of actual dungeons there. There are locations, but they don't really have that dungeon feel. That feel that you start an entrance and you go deeper and deeper, and your resources are getting exhausted, and you're having to manage all that shit. It's dangerous. You can't rest. Or you can't long rest, at least, which I guess that part's kind of true of the whole campaign. But I wanted to insert more actual dungeons here. Nangalore is a great one. It's one of the few, like, basically already a dungeon as is. It's a really cool, like, hanging garden set piece. With a final boss that you can basically just have a social interaction with, which is cool. And then I wanted to do Orolunga into that as well. And then I literally made their main quest. Right now, their main quest is obviously find Omu, but the best way to get that is by getting the boat, and the way to get the boat is by exploring Orolunga and Nangalore. So that is one of their primary quests. So I'm using the Viper's Pit dungeon from the DM's Guild. I will hopefully remember to link this in the description at the bottom. It's by JVC Perry. Joshua is one of my favorite DM's Guild creators. He really makes dungeons and adventures that are way up my style, very kind of action-adventure, Indiana Jones style shit, with great maps. It's part of a larger campaign he did called Serpent Isle, which I was actually considering running once upon a time whenever Chris was doing Storm King's Thunder, and then WotC came out with Tomb of Annihilation. So I was like, well, shit, this is, I wanted to do that like jungle adventure, and then they did it. So this is kind of my chance to use one of his dungeon designs, and I believe you can purchase it separately. It's called the Viper's Pit. But it's essentially a temple. Now I'm having to change quite a lot of it. I'm using essentially the basic design of it, but I'm changing it. In his adventure, it was a bunch of demons had essentially either snakes moved into a demon temple or demons moved into a snake temple. I don't know, but it had both of them. I'm taking out the whole demon thing. Instead, Orolunga in our campaign is an old Yuan-Ti temple, like a ziggurat style, And recently, the UNT have sent an expedition back there because there is an oracle, a Naga, that they are trying to either get answers from or just really just capture it and bring it back to Raz Nisi, because Raz Nisi is becoming more and more upset with Acerak. He was aligned with Acerak. Acerak took over Omu, and I need to read a bit more of the history there. But they've essentially allied with each other. But now Raz Nisi is upset because he's kind of dying because Acerak basically started up the whole Soulmonger thing, and that's not good for Raz Nisi because he's dying from it. And so he is wanting to seek out the Oracle to try to get some answers from to see what the hell is going on. So Raz Nisi sent out an expedition, which, if you noticed during last week's session, I teased that expedition. I mentioned the fact that the lizard folk the players met had seen this expedition going north, and that was the total tease, is that there are UNT have recently gone to this old temple and have taken up the residence there, which means they've set off a couple of the defenses. There will be some signs of fights, but they haven't set off all the defenses because this is an original UNT dungeon. Man, I didn't really... I'm just looking at the map. I didn't actually line up the squares very well with the actual Roll20 squares, did I? Hopefully that won't matter too much, but I probably should have done that. Did I already start putting walls here? I don't know if I did. So the players will find like journal-style entries from... And I actually looked at Fane of the Night Serpent, one of the NPCs there that I believe is loyal to Raz Nisi is Yaru. And he is going to be the one, Malisan, who was in charge of this expedition, brought a bunch of Yuan-Ti brood guards and purebloods and basically just enslaved humans in order to enslave the Naga. And by the time the players will make it there, they will find the Naga like literally in a cage or something, and Yara's in the middle of a cutscene talking to Raz Nisi. And I wanted to tease all of this because written in the book, the Yuan-Ti basically do not make an appearance until that Act 3, that late game. Same with the Sohn Sisters. I guess there's a random encounter with the Sohn Sisters and with the Yuan-Ti, but random encounters didn't do it enough for me. I really wanted to create something better. So this whole dungeon is going to be a tease and actually set up for the Yuan-Ti that the players will meet later. They'll get, maybe a vision of a Acerak, or not a Acerak, Raz Nisi, learn about that. I will also introduce Salida in this dungeon, who is a UNT member who will try to ingratiate herself into the party, and I am very much hoping to use her with the party, which will be amazing. It's going to be very difficult because my party with Manix alone is very much in the insight about who people are, so I doubt I'll be able to pull it off, but hoping I can. We'll see. I did not make the map myself. I was originally going to make it from scratch, and yes, you're right, this scenario from the DM's Guild, this one only has a black and white kind of Dyson Logos-esque style map, which doesn't work for Roll20 so much. This one, the reason it doesn't quite look like the one from the map, because if I built it from scratch, I would just literally lift his map design, which I liked. I purchased on the Roll20, where is that? Marketplace. Is the art library? Premium assets. Here we go. I ended up purchasing from Gabriel Pickard Jungle Ruins and Quick Encounters Jungle Ruins and Quick Encounters Jungles. Well, there's a lot of jungle maps you can grab. Cat, you want to walk to the camera? That's cool. I've got the windows open, so the cat's very happy. It's a very, very lovely day. What a lovely day. You can see here, as I scroll through, these are the Jungle Ruins maps, which are really fantastic. And instead of trying to build a map from scratch, I just took one of these maps and I'm just going to kind of adapt it and shape it as I need, because I think it's such a great base template to use. Unfortunately, that means it doesn't look exactly like the one from the map that he designed for the Viper's Pit. So I either need to make some adjustments or just change some things around. This is obviously the first level, and then I've got an upper level above. But this one has, when they first walk in, there's kind of a foyer. And there is a snake statue, like a big imposing snake statue. When you first walk in, if you are not a snake person or enslaved by a snake person, then this statue comes alive and attacks. Just pretty classic dungeon trope, is the giant scary statue becomes a giant scary monster. In this case, it is just a giant snake with the stone skin trait. So it actually has, I believe, or stone skin trait, this like the spell stone skin, which I think grants resistance, if I recall, to basic stuff. Spell turns flesh until the spell ends. Target has resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. The players are starting to get more magical equipment, which is nice, but essentially it'll just take half damage from non-magical shit. But it is a giant constrictor snake, which just by itself is not going to be that hard. But this is the fun like dungeon design. I get to actually pace things and have it so the players. And keep in mind, they don't long rest during the jungle, so they could always have an encounter or two between the Wreck of the Star Goddess and Orolunga, assuming they go here next. Shoot, is the giant constrictor? There it is. Which could drain their resources as well. Holy shit. Are those things really that big? There's no way. It's a huge? Oh, shit. Like the movie Anaconda. Well, that's interesting. Maybe I need to make that statue bigger then. Shoot. I didn't realize they were that gigantic. Not a very powerful enemy, especially obviously against a full party of players. I'm going to try to make it so not a lot of NPCs want to go in here. Would be nice to do. Because they have so damn many NPCs. I originally had a whole system of loyalty. I was going to have it be like, okay, well, every time the players are do something nice to an NPC, I'm gonna you have to roll a D4, and that's gonna raise their loyalty and all. I had a whole fiddly system, and I don't know why I do this, because every time I come up with a rule system for something, we just ignore it. Same thing, this happened with rations, encumbrance. Whenever I try to come up with rule systems, we just remember that, like, oh wait, this is just bogging and slowing the game down. We just want to get to the fun. So I ended up dropping that completely. So at this point, it's just a role-playing tool. It's just, how do I feel like the NPCs, would they enter these dungeons or wouldn't they? And I think a lot of them wouldn't. They would be like, oh, fuck no, this is an ancient Yuan-Ti like temple structure. It's pure evil. We're not going to go in there. So I'm hoping they don't, although the players will certainly want them to. We're going to make this guy way bigger. A pretty scary damn statue. I didn't realize that snake was huge. There we go. It's really not scary stat-wise, though I guess I could make it scarier. I'm the DM. Maybe I'll give him some more hit points or something. I should, like, tint him gray. I wonder how that looks. It looks stupid, but we'll go with it. It's not really a good gray. I could use, like, Onyx from Pokemon or something, but that's kind of what I'm picturing here, just a rock snake. In fact, let's go ahead and roll hit points, and we'll see what we get. What if you have friends who are snake people? Some of my best friends are snake people. I don't think they have any in their party. No, don't do that. What do you got for hit points, my snake? GR8D12 plus 8. I could probably give it, what, closer to... Oh, my lord. 65. I mean, let's see. What is like his max hit points? Happy Pi Day, everyone, by the way. 314. It's 8 times 12 plus 8 is 104. So if you had 100 hit pointed snake, that's a big fucking snake. Um, 64 is a little above average already. Let's just make him a little beefier. Fuck it. I'm gonna use DM overriding rules. Let's give him like, I don't know. What do y'all think? Like 80 hit points? Make him stick around. Well, the problem is I don't. It gets kind of boring if the players are just also fighting this one creature. I don't necessarily want to just bump his hit points up, because he doesn't actually. It's not that powerful offensively, and there's just one of it. He's got his constrict at a +6. He does pretty good damage. But he's just going to attack one person around. So maybe I shouldn't just inflate his hit points. It's just me, the players, just whacking away at this thing. And I still want to make this a fun fight. It's only a CR2. Yeah, you're right. I think hit points will drag it out. I'll stick with the 64. That's what I rolled. I think adding hit points is not really going to make him much more scarier. Yeah, you're right. I don't know what I was thinking. Especially after that Grung fight where I complained that the enemies stayed around too long. It's just going to make this fight boring. I could always make him... I don't know why enemy tokens have sight. That just slows things down. And it's just the opening dungeon fight anyway. Do I want to actually scale this map with the squares? That would be kind of a pain in the butt, but I should do that before drawing dynamic lighting. Let's see. This is always a freaking nightmare to do this. Let's try the 3x3 method. See if I can draw. Where's a good 3x3 section? Shoot, there's not one. There's one. So let's go set dimensions. Nope, that's not it. Align to grid. That's it. So we need a 3x3 grid box, and hopefully this will make it. This is fun with Roll20 right here. I'm miserable at doing this also. I lean forward in the chair ever so carefully. Something like that. Align the grid. How... Oh, that's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. There we go. That looks like it fits. All the little squares are lined up. I don't know why, for the life of me, any Roll20 map or map that's designed for Roll20 has grids on it, because all it does is make it a severe headache to try to match those grid lines up, because Roll20 already has grids. God, that looks fucking perfect. Look at that. First time. It's bound to happen eventually. Hell yeah, we'll just keep that. Alright. Solves that. Thank goodness. It's always a pain. Apologize if you're hearing street sounds. I have my windows open, as I said. It's real nice out. Let's see. Stairs in the... I still need to draw all the walls on this map, too. Let's see. You are so beautiful, giant snake statue. The thing is, it looks a lot stronger than it is. That's my only... Like, this giant... I mean, look at... I need to move it off the... Look how fucking intimidating that looks. And you see this come alive, you're like, oh, shit! And then it just ends up being kind of a regular snake, so... maybe I might bump its attacks or something. Ooh, let's make it looking at the entrance. It just started out. It looks cool. I need to change this snake around. This thing needs to be more impressive now. Yeah, there will definitely be some traps in here. So as written in the adventure, it has a petrifying theme. So in the original Viper's Pit adventure, there's a bunch of basilisks running around, and then a bunch of snake heads that players need to operate in order to open various secret passages and doorways. But it's written in the adventure that you have to pull one of two different things. Either you poke the eyes or pull a tooth. I forget what it is. And then either the good thing happens or it sprays out a paralyzing agent. And you can never tell which one is which. So it's just always trying to fuck with you. And I don't... the dungeon, I think, is designed... I mean, it's about the same level. I don't want to... Paralyzing seems like an awful thing to throw at the players, like, left and right, though. I'm not against putting a few basilisks in here, but I certainly don't want to overdo it. But the players will deal with Petrify more in the Nangalore dungeon because the actual boss of that dungeon is a Medusa. So I don't want to overdo the Petrify thing. And I think they'll deal with that a little bit because there are basilisks in the Fane of the Night Serpent as well. So I want to make this one more about maybe just poisoning the players left and right, rather than straight up Petrify. Yeah, like Dilophosaurus style blinding poison. So I may edit this snake a little bit and make it a little more powerful. We'll see. We'll see. So, and you can see, I can switch to that map real quick. Do I still have that map up? This is what I'm looking at I'll use the same setup that I do for my DM's Guild reviews, right there. So this is the PDF of the Viper's Pit dungeon, part of the Serpent's Isle campaign. I believe this is sold separately. This is on the DM's Guild. And it's just a really cool two-leveled like temple dungeon. It has two things I really wanted to use. One of them is the end part has a pits filled with snakes, which I like. I'm going to use that, and then the oracle, I'm going to have it be on the altar, and then that's where the Malison is and everything. So the players have to enter this really interesting, complicated, environmentally dangerous final room. The other thing it has, in this adventure, it has a Hydra on the second level, because this is kind of like, I guess, near water, and that Hydra is a local menace. In my campaign, I want to turn that into a Wyvern, and the Wyvern is not currently aligned with anyone. The Oracle just kind of let it move in, and it doesn't fuck with the Oracle, and the Oracle doesn't fuck with it. But when the Yuan-Ti revive, and really anybody who's hanging around this temple might have to deal with this Wyvern. And that'll be an interesting kind of third-party faction here, and that it's very, very powerful. It is sitting on a mound of treasure, which the best way to get players to fuck with something that they normally wouldn't fuck with is to put treasure there. I did that with the gorilla encounter, and it worked beautifully. So I'm sure they will do that. Wyverns are very powerful, but not insurmountable. Or they could try, and I want to definitely tease the fact there's a Wyvern up here, either have it be flying around, or maybe I'm leaning towards having the player discover it while it's maybe still in its nest, having just like eaten a Yuan-Ti or something. So like the Yuan-Ti took some heavy losses from this Wyvern as they were marching up there. The Wyvern attacked them, and they just kind of fended off and basically ran inside. And now they know this giant beast is in here. I'm going to use the classic video game storytelling tool of having just journal entries that the players find from Yaru. I think that's his name. It's in Yaru. That the players can find to kind of tease the fact that this creature is up here if they don't already see it. Let's go back to roll 20. There I am. So that's the map we're looking at, and that's on the second level. So the first floor has the snake. It's got I'm gonna have some gargoyles guarding the stairs, and Salida might be down here. In the adventure, I was gonna replace her with one of the secret doors players can find, or she wouldn't. I don't think she'd be petrified. There's a couple of petrified. I don't want to do the petrify thing too much. I could put like a single basilisk in here, but I don't want to have a bunch of petrified people because that's not what the basilisk didn't attack them. It's the Wyvern that basically attacked them. And the Yuan-Ti would be able to fend off a Wyvern pretty well because Yuan-Ti, I believe, are immune to poison, so they would actually not take a whole lot of damage. You can see this is the second level. The idea that I've gotten, I've actually put together this one a lot more than the first floor. The Wyvern, which we had a Wyvern, I believe, in Prince of the Apocalypse, which is what I used here because Wyverns are not in Tomb of Annihilation. Because most of its damage, well, I guess it still does regular damage, doesn't it? His bites and claws. Stinger, okay, there it is, 76 poison damage. So obviously the Yuan-Ti don't care about that, but I mean, still, a Wyvern would still bite and claw the fuck out of you, so it would definitely do some damage and kill some of them, and that's the idea, is it's up here. You can see I'm trying to build some walls. I shouldn't have done any of this because I need to realign this map like I did the first map, though. And then this is the giant pit of snakes, which I had to kind of blow that image up. It doesn't look so great, but the idea is the Oracle will be up here in some kind of a mystical cage or something. I'm not quite sure how powerful Nagas are versus Yuan-Ti. But the idea is it is definitely in trouble. What's the Guardian Naga? Shit, they're CR10. Oh, crap. That's a dilly of a pickle. Most of its shit is poison damage, though, and the Yuan-Ti are immune to poison. That's a big deal. But it does have a lot of spells. Although none of it's really combat related. Flame Strike and Hold Person, Calm Emotions. Yeah, so I've never used a Naga before, by the way. What is Flame Strike? A vertical column of divine fire. That sounds powerful. It's a laser beam. It's an orbital laser beam. That's interesting. I still think a bunch of UNT might be able to subdue a Naga because they'll be immune to its poison. And once he's spent his spells, he can't really do much else. Although they are quite powerful. Interesting. Guardian. Well, I don't want to put anything on this map just yet. Let's fix this map first. So I need to go to map. I don't know why I didn't do this before. I put all this stuff on the map too. Let's go to align to grid. And I need a 3x3 section, which it looks like I freaking covered up all those sections. Let's move these bookshelves. They're gonna move anyway. There's a 3x3. Let's do that. Line to grid. Let's see if I can nail it the first time again. A little bit too up on that one. Let's cancel. No pressure, no pressure. 3, 3. Do it. Doesn't look nearly as good. Why did it blow way the fuck up? Not quite. You can see all the shit I put on the map on the map above. Any tips you'd recommend for a new DM? Oh lord. I'm sure there are better people for tips for me. I mean, session 0 is critical. Know your players, know their personalities, know what they want out of the adventure, know that you're building the story with them. Know when to say, because I know the Will Wheaton rule was like say yes to everything, and I think that's kind of a slippery slope. Like, you definitely want to encourage the players. You want to reward cool shit without letting them walk all over you, you know, and that's a tricky line to walk for sure. Let me turn this into a drawing at least. This lines up. But just knowing your players, being able to talk to them kind of outside the bounds of the... That's not lining up at all, damn it. Of the adventure. Why is that not quite working? See, this is the problem I ran into. I usually do this. I don't know why the first one worked so well. I think the boxes are just slightly too... You can see the other side doesn't line up at all. Also made this map way bigger than I anticipated. Could try to line up these 3 squares up here. Line to grid. I shouldn't be at this stage. I should be just filling out tokens and maps, not trying to line the damn grid up. Let's try that. That doesn't work at all. Don't make yourself a PC. Yeah, don't include 7 NPCs in the party. Definitely don't do what Jimmy Don't does. That was stupid on my part. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like every single story beat the players have, there's a new NPC involved. And maybe it's due to the fact that they can't just drop somebody off in the town. You know, they're in the middle of the jungle, so people would just kind of join forces with them. So it might just be part of the way this campaign is structured. Why is this lining up so well on this side and not at all on this side? That's what's driving me crazy right now. That is not at all working. Did this map get a lot bigger than the other one? Let's see. I did have an exterior map at one point. I don't think we're going to need it. And this one fit perfectly. That's really confusing me. Within the same frame, and the other one not so much. And see, it blew it up like way off screen. Oh, damn it. I keep dragging those things. Look how much bigger that made that map. this map just scaled to be a lot larger? Because that also doesn't work. And I need them, if it's going to be the top floor and a second floor, I need them to be relatively... maybe I changed the size of it. I wonder if that's what I did. We're going to make a... We're going to do a bold move here. We're going to delete that. And we're going to find it again. Which was... Shoot, which one were you? That's the first one. That's the second one. We're going to turn you. Going to size you up. And we're going to try to align to grid from here. If we can, and we'll see where it goes from there. Fresh. We'll start fresh. Line to grid. 1, 2, 3. I went too high there. Try. Oh, shit. I should have clicked try again. I forgot that was an option. Line to grid. I got way distracted today also watching the Avengers trailer like 8 times. Alright. Whew, that does blow things up. So when DMs make a PC character they control to play along. Oh, yeah, don't do that. Don't, yeah, if you want to play, be a player. NPCs can be a lot of fun, though, and be really useful for storytelling. This is just not working very well for this one. The other one worked so well, and this one not so much with trying to line these squares up. It's very frustrating that I can do it for, like you can see right now, the right side of the map lines up right now, and the left side does not. Yes, do not overplan. I know there's some DM, I believe Jerry Holkins does, he mentions that he doesn't prep at all, it's just all ad-lib. That seems terrifying to me. But on the other hand, you don't want to overplan because you have to be prepared to, you know, not do that shit. The stuff that I'll plan out is like the initial dialogues between NPCs and like a few scripted scenes, and then really from there you just have to kind of, and even when I'm writing out dialogue, I'll just write like, you know, if the players, almost like a video game, like tree, like if the players ask this topic, this is what they say. If they ask this topic, this is what they say. That kind of prep work can be very helpful, because I'm not super good at ad-libbing, especially when I'm trying to do voices. I'm not as good at doing both a voice and an ad-lib. It's very difficult for me. Is drawing. Let's try to move it. I can sit here and grab one end. I guess this map is just bigger than the other one, which is part of my problem. Maybe I just need to trying to shrink the map a bit, yeah. It doesn't make, I mean, to make sense, this top layer has to be smaller than the bottom one, right? If you're doing the whole ziggurat thing. That's the idea. And this top one right now is 24 by 23. And this one's a little smaller, so I could just do like some DM magic and have it be like, this map is actually bigger than the other one for some reason. I don't need the bottom part, but I do need the full width, I think. I don't need the full height. Let's try and... God, trying to grab the edge of this thing is not working out very well. That's not working either. I can't grab the edges very well. Yeah, it's just not... The align to grid should be a lot closer, and this one is just not even close at all. Because there's a corner. So there's a 1 by 1, there's a 2 by 2, and there's the 3 by 3. Yeah, I always try to use... oh shit, maybe I nailed it. I always try to use character names for sure. Ooh, ooh, that's close. That's close. It's real close. We're slightly off on the left, but I think we're real damn close. I could split the difference, maybe? Okay. I think we're good there. I don't know why. It's, you know what? I think it's good enough. I think it's good enough. I like that. Okay, so let's just move this to here. Let's reline you up to here. Yeah, I don't know if they always had that, but I remember before having to like try to resize the map and do all that. It was just a nightmare. And align to grid usually works pretty well. I just had some problems with this map. But I think you can see we're slightly off, but I don't know how much more I want to jack with it. That's pretty damn close. Okay. How much? So is this map just significantly bigger? We could shave off 2 from the width. And I don't actually remember. I think I was going to use this as the bottom of the height. Let's see. What happens if we took this to the back layer? To the back with ye! Yeah, this was the original size. Jeez. Wow, that's all kinds of jack. I know, they probably won't, but I'll notice it and it's going to bug the crap out of me. Especially because only because I aligned the first one so perfectly, too. I don't remember how much of this outside part I used. This is, I think this is one of the few instances of making a whole map that I've had to do. It's one of the reasons I've used Tomb of Annihilation is because the maps are so good on Roll20. Oh, that's actually pretty close to where it needs to be, isn't it? Oh, no, it's not. These all need to be over here. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Oh, excuse me. I got that one. Whew. There's an area over here. I can't click and drag on this, can I? There's a bunch of just gaping holes. This place is supposed to be falling apart. So there's a part in the adventure where the players can just do like running jumps, essentially. And all these beautiful walls I made need to be moved. Stairs are over here. I don't know why I put all this map without doing this. All these stairs are actually over here then. And walls. So by using this map, I'm having to change a lot. But I think it's going to ultimately look a lot better. I don't have to resize all this shit. There's a book. Place. What do you call? Library. It's still called a library in like fantasy dungeons, even though most of these areas aren't actually libraries. Just like the place where books are kept, which I guess you call that a library still. A study, maybe. But what's interesting here is I'm trying to create multiple factions. So you've got the Naga is the actual... This is the Naga's lair. Well, the Naga is not evil. The Yuan Ti have moved in as an evil faction that want to essentially enslave or... Because I believe the Fane of the Night Serpent actually includes a Bone Naga, which is a Naga that has been, you know, killed and risen as an undead, and then essentially that way enslaved by the Yuan Ti, and I thought that was really cool. So I'm going to have them basically in the process of trying to do that to this Naga. And then you've got the Wyvern, who's just a complete wild card element that the players can either fight or try to manipulate into fighting the Yuan Ti or whatever they want to do. I want to create all these interesting elements and then just kind of see what the players do with them. And I think that's the best way of trying to build any scenarios. You just give the players a lot of really fun tools and toys to play with, and then kind of see what they do with them from there. And then maybe create a few, you know, nice scripted cutscenes and stuff when you've got some fun story. Oh, I just touched the map. Don't touch the map. just to make that stuff more interesting. I hate being on the map layer. It makes me so nervous. Jack with so much stuff. What was the tip? Good tip. No. Let's try to avoid making too many NPCs hostile. It's the quickest way to cause players to become murder hobos. Yeah. I mean, my players have met a lot of nice NPCs, so I feel like they've done a pretty good job of not doing that. They met some friendly lizard folk. Didn't murder hobo them. The trick also is to bring your players to the brink of death, to where they really, being a murder hobo is not a good idea, because they're almost dead. Somehow I created this area over here. Getting ahead of myself, because this is actually the second floor too. The wyvern's up here, and there's the treasure. I think it's generally over here, and I want to make it so the players kind of have to... I guess they could immediately go to the last room, or they could explore the rest of the dungeon, but they're able to hear like sounds from in here, and then this area will be open. Oh, that's true. I should pop them back over to the... I think what I usually do that, and then when I lock them, when I lock them in place, to use like a tabletop simulator term, I put them on the map layer. The problem is I thought I was in that process with this map, and turns out I wasn't. I didn't do the grid alignment, so you're right. I should have done it that way. I may actually cut all of this bottom area off here and make this line be the bottom of the map. That would make it so that this map isn't much... I don't want to make too much of a size difference there. Because right now, if I do that, it's about 105 feet. And then the first floor... That snake looks hilarious, that big. Boom. So not the most accurate ziggurat, but I think that would be a bit more correct. Mostly a combat-focused game. Yeah, and that's fine. That's the thing to know, is that there's no... that's one of the cool things about D&D, is you can really play it in all these different ways. You can play like a super story game that's got a little combat. You can play like an investigation game. One that's just pure social interaction a lot of the time. Or you can play like a, action RPG, essentially, and just kill shit and loot. And none of those are wrong, but you have to make sure that that's what your players want. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice, is just know who your players are. If they're already your friends or whatever, then that's great. You've got half the battle down. And just make sure that everybody kind of wants that style of game, and don't just make that your only session zero thing. Periodically kind of talk to your players and just see kind of where they're at with what's going on, and you can kind of tell as a DM if somebody's not having a good time, or occasionally they just, because there's outside of the game shit going on, they're just in a bad mood or something. That'll happen, but or if you focused on one player's story for a long time, then you need to kind of wrap that up and then focus on other people, because you're also playing with different people. So none of those are wrong ways of playing. Just know kind of what they want and then how you want to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's shave 8 off the height, which is 22. There we go. That's the size of our second floor. I need to reorganize all the walls and everything, but that's kind of the idea. And I'm using, again, I can't do the exact map from Viper's Pit, but I think I'm going to be pretty close. I've got the snake pits. The Naga will be basically right here. Right there. That's a fucking weird picture of a snake with a person's face. The UNT will be here in the middle of a ritual. That'll be a cutscene, but essentially the players can figure out what they want to do from there. But it'll be a classic, like kind of a Star Wars moment, where like a villain is contacting like the boss villain, and that's how the players are introduced to them. Because one difficult thing in D&D, compared to say most other storytelling devices, is that you're always lock focused on the players, and in almost every single other media, there are scenes it's just villains. Like you to do character building on the villains, and in D&D you pretty much never take the focus away from the players. Your camera lens is never off of the players, and that's something I'm trying to work with. Is be able to flesh out the villains like the Sohn sisters and Asarak and Rosnisi by including them in these other kind of ways. And at some point I may even probably do like a straight up scene that's just of like the Stone Sisters building that predator beast that I'm going to send after the players. Like, there's no reason the players should know that that exists or that's a thing, but that's just a good storytelling moment. And we'll say there's maybe some kind of psychic connection or bullshit or whatever. I'll just do that scene. But that's something that D&D doesn't do very well, is be able to just take the lens away from the players and literally do like a, hey, here's the villains talking about shit or doing nasty shit, just as a character building tool for them. I definitely want to show off Rosnisi and make him more of an interesting villain, and then a whole bunch of UNT in here. So that's looking better. Quite new to D&D in general. We were too. Literally, you can watch our evolution of D&D on my YouTube page. We started with that Lost Mine of Phandelver, whenever that was, like 3 or 4 years. How long have we been doing this? 3 or 4 years ago, maybe longer than that. That Lost Mine of Phandelver was the first time we'd played 5th edition. I have a little bit of experience playing 2nd edition back in high school, when Roll20 was certainly not a thing. We had 56K dial-up modems, in fact, back then. I'm not going to age myself too much, but I have a little bit of experience there. But otherwise, I hadn't played D&D in 15 years before that or whatever it was, so... 5th edition's been great. I'd highly recommend it to everybody. It's super easy to learn and easy to play. And obviously Roll20 is the way to go if you're doing online. So we've got a snake here. We've got, what else is on the first floor? Handy chamber, ritual room. This might be... I could make some more walls here. It's definitely going to be a scenario where the players first step into the door and immediately the snake's going to... attack pretty much whenever they cross like just the threshold entrance. Players don't usually sit there now and let the villain have a 3-minute speech. Yeah, that's very true. You're gonna have Rosnisi weak, or is he still kicking? I like him as being one of those characters who is weak but doesn't try to show it, and like maybe have the players roll like an insight check to see. I mean, he looks fucked up. He's got like bandages all over and all that, but he's gonna try to... It's kind of like almost Darth Vader. He's another Star Wars reference. Like, Darth Vader looks badass, but you take the mask off and he's like a fucking decrepit, dying old man. I kind of want to have the same thing with Rosnisi, where he, hello cat, is really in bad shape underneath, but still puts on a very powerful front to basically just maintain control of the UNT. He doesn't want to show a lot of weakness, but that will, I think, come into play when the players go to the Fane of the Night Serpent. I'm really interested to see how that dungeon ends up coming. I would love to be able to capture the players and take them in there, because I think that makes it a better story, but that is a difficult thing to pull off with PCs for sure. Banquet Hall has bearded devils. That's not going to work for me. Basilisks. That's also not going to work. I think I need to just replace all of this. What would be in a temple? It wouldn't be necessarily a banquet hall in here. Maybe we have some kind of a... I guess some kind of a feast area. People have to have, buffets, casseroles. What do people do in temples? I'm not very religious. UNT Pure Blood, that works. Actual chapel somewhere. Summoning rooms, stairs. I think I was going to have gargoyles guarding the stairs. Which would be these stairs up here. Or I just turn these stairs into the actual stairs. I don't know why I put stairs on top of stairs. I could just... In fact, that would make this room smaller than the top room if I just took out this top area and made these the actual stairs. Why don't I do that? That's not a bad idea. Just make this a wall, and have this stair, when they go up these stairs, just have that be the actual second level. I think that makes more sense. But I could put a room over here, maybe like a storage room. You want to usually do things with blood. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely like that kind of Aztec sacrificial, hardcore temple shit. Ritual rooms with bathing and feasting. Man, y'all have some good ideas here. Could have an altar where people make offerings to the gods. I think, well, I guess this was just a snake statue. It wasn't really an altar. Yeah, I need some kind of altar. Roll20, do you have a good altar? Yeah, they do. Ooh, that's a creepy looking one. Some bones in there. I don't think there would be fresh bones, but it could work. Let's see what that one looks like. Choo 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 choo. That's a pretty creepy looking altar. Just chilling in there. That could be something. Does this one have an altar? I'm trying to look at the written map. I don't think they had a ritual room. Large stone slab carved into a table and adorned with a serpent motifs. Just a ritual room, okay. So it would be like embalming fluid and like kind of alchemist shit in there. If I want to do like a side room or maybe a corner. Dendar's Return. That's what the Yuan-Ti are after, right? That's their snake god. Maybe put this in like I don't know, what size should that be? That's already 5 feet wide, so that's a pretty good size altar. Could put that in the corner or something. What other enemies do I want down here? I want the Yuan-Ti hanging down here for sure. The temple. Which book, Juicy? Are you talking about the Viper's Pit I'm using or the Orolunga? Because Orolunga from the Tomb of Annihilation, which let's see. Massive brick and stone ziggurat rises from the jungle. 2 staircases angle up and across the front face, one from the right, the other from the left, to meet at a landing on the second level, 30 feet above your heads. That layout represents the second level and the third level, each successive layer adding less height than the ones below it. What an awkward description. The fourth level, 60 feet above the jungle floor, is an enclosed shrine or temple, its walls adorned with labyrinth symbols. The jungle encroaches right up to and into this ancient structure. The first flight of stairs are choked with creepers, tree roots, and flowering vines. It might have been surrounded by a city long ago, but the jungle is so dense it would take hours of searching to find buried foundations and tumbled stones. But that's just, and all it is like the outside of the ziggurat. The players are just climbing these stairs and having different things happen, which is bizarre. The shrine atop the ziggurat is a simple rectangular statue of brick. The outside walls are decorated with labyrinth symbols of Ubtao. Beyond the open doorway is a barren, dusty room. Blah, blah, blah. It's just not, I'm just changing too much of it, I think. Juicy, did you all do Orolunga on your campaign? The Naga knows through visions that Rosnisi and his Yuan-Ti followers are scheming to end the world from their lair in Omu. She doesn't know about the death curse. I didn't realize it was a female Naga. She doesn't know about the death curse, but when characters describe it, she confirms that it fits with various omens tied to Omu. The Naga knows Omu lies between the peaks of flame and the Valley of Lost Honor, and she also knows it's sunken below the level of the surrounding jungle. So the best way to spot it will be from the air or from the nearest high ground. The Naga remembers Rosnisi's first uprising, and she urges the characters to kill him, both as punishment for his past atrocities and to prevent any possibility of a recurrence. So obviously that'll be very much a thing, is that she will introduce, which the players already kind of know about Rosnisi. I believe I teased him a little bit in the beginning, but I think that would be the fact that the Yuan-Ti are literally attacking her shrine right now would be motivation for her to be like, hey, can you take this guy down, by the by? And she will basically give them the location of Omu, to where hopefully the players will then take that information and say, okay, we don't want to go through the entire jungle, though. We can easily sail around and get that boat, but to get the boat, we then have to go to Nangalore. So their next main quest from here should be Nangalore, but obviously there's some other stuff in the way they can do. We did the insane flower ritual thing. Yeah, that is Orolunga. I don't like any of that. I'm changing all that. It's just weird. It's weird, and I want to turn it into a dungeon, which I'm doing. What else? I need more walls in here. I need to figure out what is an entrance and what isn't. Probably make some. Well, this is already a wall here. What walls was I using? Crumbling walls. So crumbling. So effective. So tiny. There we go. Let's flip you around. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to tell my players to just ignore the shadows on this map because this place is not open to the sky. And the fact that me turning the walls around fucks up the shadows. So, pro tip to Roll20 asset designers, don't include shadows. I mean, they kind of look nice, but it also very much limits what you can do with them. And we're just going to have to all suspend our disbelief that these shadows are just all over the place on this map, even though there should be no shadows whatsoever. I could leave that an open doorway. I did Orolunga, but with just the book stuff. Some people were scared to swallow snakes. No shit, I would be too. Each person that went in got one question they could ask. So that's something I did with, in Port 9 Zaru, I did that with, what's his name? The guy, Zatembe. I let them all ask a single question of Zatembe with the ritual, and they all got to get some more information there. With the Naga, I'm mainly going to offer them a boon for rescuing her. Because she will be like captured, in the process of being kind of enslaved and captured by the UNT. So she will offer them all a boon, assuming they take up the task to go kill Rosnisi. And I literally want to create like a cool boon, and I'm almost out of time. I've gone way long. Where I'm going to do a cool thing where I'm going to have her ask them, like, what do you desire? And I'm going to have options, and the options will be one word or a phrase. It'll be, do you desire health, or friendship, or answers, or power? Do you desire hope? Do you desire understanding? Do you desire faith? And all of these things will be charms that give them some kind of spell-like effect that has to do with it. So, for example, if they answer, I desire health, they'll get a charm of restoration. If they say they desire friendship, they'll get a charm of animal conjuring. If they desire answers, they get a charm of divination. So that'll basically let them kind of choose like what reward they want, which I think will be a fun idea there. And the idea is nobody can choose the same one. There's like a finite. Each one is like one, so everybody's got to choose something different. But that'll be a fun little role-playing tool for the players to do also. I have gone way over time. I will probably be building Orolunga next time because, as I said, the players will not... we're going tonight to reschedule D&D, and I believe we're just going to be finishing up Rank of the Star Goddess, so I'll probably still be working on Orolunga next Thursday, sorry. And really putting this map together. Hopefully they're going to Orolunga. We'll figure that out. If they go to Heart of Ooptown instead, then I'll be probably needing to prep that more instead. But I'll still be working on Orolunga from there because I think this will be a really fun dungeon to show off the UNT and tease Rosnisi a lot. Thank you to everyone for joining me for this week's Crafting Annihilation. If you like my content, do check out patreon.com/RogueWatson and tune in tonight. Again, that is tonight for Tomb of Annihilation. No videos from me tomorrow. We're going tonight. I'll see y'all then.